Welcome everyone. The topic for the day is innovation and change management. We'll listen to what exactly is innovation and change management is all about it. So, here so, what is the agenda? We will define what is change, what are the forces of change, and the contrasting views of change process altogether. So, we need to understand the organizational change, what it is looking into it, how managers have been affected, what are the various forces. Now, remember, the forces can be external or can be internal altogether. Contrast them as much as possible. Two views, basically the change process that comes across is in terms of white water rapid metaphors, wherein the waters is absolutely calm, and then there is a absolute vibrancy in the water which makes the water very frothy. And it see, the calm water is crystal clear, and the white water, because it is very violently shaking it up or moving around it, it's very frothy around it. And then we have the Lewin three-step model that we'll talk around and understand the environment that the manager faces today. So, first of the agenda would be managing change as to how the manager must structure the stream in terms of technology, in terms of people. Now, this is what we're looking into it. Believe me or not, nobody loves change. In fact, everybody resists change, and how resistance can be managed altogether. So, contemporary issues in managing change explain why changing organization culture is so difficult, describing the stress and how managers can apply. Probably, yes, what we are looking into it, and what makes the change absolutely successful. So we have the stimulating innovations. Now this is where we come to as to why innovations in the first place altogether. So we talk about the innovations is why innovation and why not creativity. Explain the system view of innovation. That is very true. And the structural, cultural, the human ethos that comes into play during the innovation process. We why do we innovate? Only to get things done in a much better, swifter, economical fashion. That's the reason for innovating. It should make our life a little bit more comfortable. So, what are the idea champions that we're looking into? Innovations are all about it. So let us try to answer the questions that have been generated now and then. So we will be talking about the organizational change. Yes, any alternation in people, structures, technologies are changes. Any and every alternation. Remember, it can be the ornogram that we are changing. It can be the process we are changing. It can be the new tech that can be being brought around it. That is a change. So characteristic of change is constant, yet it varies to a degree and probably to a direction. Produces uncertainty yet is not completely unpredictable, creates both threat and opportunities that we are looking into it. So yes, managing change is an integral part of every, and I am speaking of every. Look for the forces of changes out here. What are they? They are talking about the marketplace. Now these are the external forces. I will also discuss the internal forces. Marketplace, as in what the competitors are doing around it, they will be manipulating the changes as on when on basis. Then there is our governmental institutionals who come into play for every new laws, every new regulation that has been brought around here. There is something called technology. The technologies are changing overnight. Remember, this is a fast paced innovation method that comes around it. They are changing overnight and changing the rules of the game altogether. We are talking about the labor market. People are getting refined in terms of their skills. So that is what we are looking into. Differences, the nuances in the labor market naturally understood, and of course the economic change, which is beyond the purview of the environment or beyond the purview of the organization. So external forces are marketplace, government laws, technology, labor market, and the changes. Remember, now we'll talk about the managers as a change agent. As a change agent, the managers are catalyst to the change. They want to hasten the process of change and assume the responsibility that what are the benefit or the detrimental effects of the change has to be brought about, has to be them, has to be answerable and measured and probably solved by them. So as the change agent, they are the internal entrepreneurs, and as a non-managers they can be a just a specialist for the change. So that means they have the so-called equipped with the technical know-how. If the technical knowledge has been changed altogether, so that is what we are looking out here. Then comes the outside consultation. This is this change implementation expert that comes around it. So we have the internal gentleman or the lady, and then there is something called the peculiarities or the specialities that people are very much accustomed to it. So somebody is an excellent coder, somebody is a heart surgeon, and they are absolutely specialists that we are looking into it. And then there is the external consultant that comes around it, who is not an internal employee at all, basically an change implementation expert that we are looking into it. Yes, I will be. I have started with the calm water metaphors and the white water metaphors. Remember, the calm water metaphors is the Lewin process, which says about unfreezing. First, the change is there, so we need to change with unfreezing around it. So, and after this, after unfreezing, we move to the next level. Let's say this is the next level that comes around it. So we change to the next level and then probably freeze it into the next level altogether. So refreezing it. So from this position to this position that becomes around it, and absolutely this is what we are looking out here. So we have unfreezing, we have changing in the new state, and then refreezing the change it, which makes it a permanent, or should I say that semi-permanent, because this can again come back to this particular sections altogether. So this is that needs to be taken care of. So we have the Lewin's method of unfreezing, changing, and refreezing, wherein the whitewater rapid metaphor is the it states the lack of stability or predictability actually makes the managers of the organization to continually evolve themselves so as to they remain survival or they remain relevant altogether. So because the environment is basically very unstable, things are moving haywire, and you have to keep on continuously evolving yourself, or else you sink, right? To keep yourself relevant, this is how you. So we'll talk about these types of changes. So number one types of changes which has been done is structural, wherein there might be a new CEO which has been recruited. So there is a new person who's come into it, and his or her views of working might change altogether in the process of the organization. There might be a new technology that we are looking into it. Probably we are going from mechanizations to a complete automations. We're looking into is as far as an operation or production process is concerned. That's what we're looking into it. Look here, we have actually gone for automation. Now this is wherein certain tasks have been completely obligated, and it has been expected will be assumed by the machine to assume the roles of those tasks. Let's say a lot of accountancy work has been done through a lot of software that has been applied about it. And then we have something called workforce, which is changing attitude, expectation, perceptions, and behaviors of the workforce that comes across. So, how do we manage change? Basically, managing change is very difficult because people do not like changes. They would love to be within the comfort zone. The ambiguity and the uncertainty that change introduces is the comfort of the old habit. This is where people actually make resistance altogether. They would not like to unfreeze, they would not like to change, and they would not like to refreeze. They want to be in the freezing section because that is what they are getting accustomed to. So concern over personal loss of status, money, authority, friendship, and personal convenience, that is what we are looking out here. So we are talking about the personal convenience, the status, the money, the authority that comes across. Yeah, so the perception that changes is incompatible with the goals and the interest of the organization is true. Absolutely well said. Is definitely why we look into it. We all believe or we all doubt that the any change that has been brought around will be only be in a wronger side, or we will be at the receiving end of the stick. That is one thing that detriments us from espousing the together. Now, issues of managing change. One of the major issues is changing the organization cultures. Cultures are naturally resistant to change. What are the natural resistance to change that we are looking into it? Condition that facilitates. Yes, the occurrence of dramatic crisis actually with changes. Let's say the competitor might reduce the price of the product, forces you to change, reduce your prices of your own product despite your cost. That can be at a higher end, and that means you are making a loss because or else you are losing a market share. So it is all about your pocket size or the pocket strength that we talk about it. Leadership changing hands is another thing which we're looking into it. I just a few moments back I said a top man fellow or top lady joins the organization at the top post, and his or her attributes gets translated, or should I say, transform the organizations altogether. So leadership changing habits facilitates the cultural change. A young, flexible, small organization wherein it is very informal, wherein it is very relevant, wherein it is very dynamic. So that is what we are looking into it. So a bureaucratic organization might be takes time to change, but a young, flexible, non-bureaucratic organization is more prone to change. So it actually facilitates change, and definitely something which is known as a young or a weak cultures is all about it. Talking about employee stress during the change, what does it all about it? First and foremost thing is we are in a comfort zone. So any changes in a comfort zone gives us functional stress. This functional stress actually is an outcome of a physical and a psychological tension that that person believes or feels because of the sudden demand of a change that has been made to him or her. So this is all our constraint. The people will not think this is an opportunities or importance or uncertainties, because any change will be musky and as far as the future demand is concerned, and people do not like uncertainty. So stress that has a positive impact on performances, yes, definitely certain amount of stress is required to give a wonderful performances. There is uncertainty over the outcomes when the outcome is very very important. When you value the outcomes in your favors, and then you actually strive to make accordingly out there. We'll talk about the issues in managing change, how we go around it. Now, we talk about the knowledge, skills, and attitude. Remember, this is what we are looking into it. We are talking about people, proper people selection that comes around it. We need to understand what exactly has been meant um, uh, by the job interviews to understand the thing. Now, this is what we are going around. We need to have knowledge, skills, and attitude with transferable development rights that we look into. TDRs is transformational or transferable development rights. That is from knowledge, skills, and attitudes which are concerning around it. So we develop a performance planning program or reduce job design. We need to understand, provide a counseling program over the time, offer time planning and management assistance, sponsor wellness program. Now these are the issues that needs to manage change altogether. So no longer we are looking into knowledge, skills, and attitude. We are now talking about transferable development rights as to what changes are all about it. Where you are making your stakeholder a partner in the change if you empower them. That's most importantly to understand the ambiguity, to be transparent about yourself. Improving the communication is what about being building a sense of trust, building a sense of faith in one another. That is what job redesigning is, and so on and so forth. So encourage employees to be flexible with their proposition, remove those who resist changes or cannot be changed, or probably they are vehemently opposed to the new situation together. Now we'll talk about innovation as to what is stimulating innovation is all about it. Now talking about creativity is basically ideas of combining in a unique fashion to make unusual association or outcomes as you call it around it. That is what creativity, thinking out of the box, absolutely thinking out of the box. What is innovation then is turning the outcomes of the creative process into productable, remember, productable product, service, and work method, or manageable products, manageable service. It has to be an economical viability. That is what innovation is all about it. Creativity is thinking out of the box, innovation is making it relevant to the society. So creating the right environment for innovations is having a structural variables which is organic in structure. Remember, organic in structure is not fixated structure as on when on basis. This can be the structure of the organization as on when on basis. People change their reporting relation, people change their fundamental association, people change anything that comes around here. So we are talking about availing or any resources that we look into it, frequent inter-unit communications. So we are talking about synergies, we are talking about co-branding, we are talking about synthesis, about different possibilities. We looking into time pressures, definitely yes, onto a creative activities. provide explicit, I remain committed to explicit support for creativity. Believe me, your things, out of 10 attempts, probably 7 are going to fail, but believe me, those 3 attempts which will be successful at innovation should make up for the loss of the 7 attempts that comes around it. Remember, so that's the strike rate, but these this 3, remember, these 3 can be the major factors of, on the basis of where we have to believe, we have to extend our support to all the time. So having a right environment for innovation works. Now, what are the right environment? We'll talk about ambiguity, having result which might not be in your favor. So that is what, accept them with right spirit. Then we have been tolerating the impractical, something which is unimaginable. Probably a lot of things were thought of unimaginable. One of the major things is man cannot reach the moon. Look what has happened. Man, as of today, is thinking of planting a habitation in Mars for the Homo sapiens species altogether. So we have a low external controls, tolerate risk-taking abilities that needs to be attained altogether. We need to understand conflict, tolerate them, focus on the ends rather than the means. Now, end is the objective that we are looking into it, by which methods that we come across. We need to understand, look what is happening on the earth, on our planet, with the depletion of the petrol. The prices of petrol has gone over 110, 115, even $130. So we have to force ourselves, we have to think, at this high prices per barrel of $100 above per prices per barrel, is it manageable, is it tenable? So we need to look for alternative sources of energy. Remember, we still need to use the usage to mode of a transport, but the alternative things, the means has to change around it. So we develop an open system which is focused, provide a definitive positive feedback that we are looking out into it. Yes, that is what we are creating, the right environment for the innovations. Now this is the right environment, this is the human resources, is the right environment, actively promoting training, developing and keeping the employee skills as current as possible. That is what we are looking out at. Offer high job security to encourage risk taking. Yes, uh, this is what we think. Job security, why, and risk taking, why? See, please understand why we are saying this thing. Because the risk might actually fail, this might go down, and still people might should have faith in the system altogether. Remember, did I say of the 10 attempts that I make, on maximum 7 of them will actually fail, but the 3 that will be successful should make more for the 10 attempts that we have already attempted for. So encourage individuals to become champions of change. Yes, truly so. With this, I come to an end of this presentation. Thank you for watching this video.